everybody out there in the cryptid world. Me, Patrick Perry, and my producer, Dirty over there. I'm going to bring you an amazing podcast tonight with our guest, Neil Gatti. And he's going to talk to us about Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, which is one of my favorites, fairies, and ghosts. What more could you ask for? Join us tonight on the Cryptid Quest Podcast. So, I want to welcome our guest tonight, Neil Gatti, and he's got some really cool stories to tell us and some things that just might blow our mind. So, at this moment in time, I'm going to hand it over to Neil. So, what do you want to talk about tonight, Neil?
We could do a little the Dogman, the aliens, or ghosts and stuff.
I
I'd
want
like
all
to say
of it.
thank you for having me on here, by the way.
Oh, yeah, heck yeah. Thank you for being on, man. I'm honored to have you on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So, what do you want to start with? Oh my gosh. So, generally, I always tell people save the best for last. But I guarantee everything's going to be good.
That had to be the best.
So, we want to start with aliens, or do we want to start with?
Let's do ghosts.
I love ghosts. Bring it.
Well, I actually I can speak and see them and interact with them very well. And because of that, I refuse to do cemeteries at night because that's when they're the most active. And I can't control when they come out. They control when they come to me. And most times it's good. Sometimes it's not so good. It's just nature of the beast.
So basically they like flood you in certain situations, which
and cemeteries are the worst.
Oh, well, I can imagine. So give me a encounter that when something just overwhelmed you.
I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time, and we were talking back and forth, and I started having this side conversation with the person I thought was a human. Come to find out, after I described the person to her on the phone, it was one of her dead best friends from Oregon that she never showed me a picture of.
Oh,
and
wow.
I described his favorite T-shirt.
Described it to you?
I described it to her.
So you had a vision, or you
No,
saw?
it was like me and you talking right now.
No doubt. Wow. So you saw the T-shirt on
the person.
On the person, and then you were able to go back to your you said your wife?
Yeah.
And explain it to her. And she knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. I mean,
I think she was more freaked out about it than I was because I'd never seen a picture of her friend Alex.
So were there any words between you two, or was it just a vision? Because do you think
it was pictures,
visions? So do you think maybe you have some kind of ability, psychic ability to see things like that, or do you think that this vision came to you from this person because they actually wanted to communicate with you? Just a question.
I know I can see them.
Yeah. So you had that. Now, was there one that ever really scared you? Were you ever like scared by something you saw?
There was one. We were taking my daughter on a cross country road trip for her 18th birthday, 17th birthday, and down in New Orleans, one of the cemeteries there, it was quite unnerving because of all the voodoo and things they have going on down there. I saw something that I didn't want to mess with.
What'd you see?
And it was this thing. It wasn't quite human. It wasn't quite monster. It's kind of a combination of the two. And my daughter walked into the cemetery, and I stepped 1 foot in, and I saw this thing. I was like, nope, I am not going in that cemetery. I said, my God. And then as soon as I stepped out, it disappeared. I didn't see it anymore.
Oh, wow. And did they keep going in?
Yeah, my daughter did.
Man. I don't know if I'd have been brave enough to do that. If somebody said, hey, I see something I don't want to see, I don't know if I'd have kept going.
She can see them too, but they're more friendlier to her than they are to me.
I guess I get that. So my youngest daughter, I don't generally see things. It's more of a feeling with me, but she got the gift of seeing, which she'd say, Dad, last night I saw a lady in a white dress. She came to my bed. Dad, I saw a soldier last night. And I'd ask her, what the soldier look like? And she described something from ages ago, more like, Confederate war, garb. And she was young at the time. So, I don't know how I would handle that, flooding you like that. So how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I know that there's Confederates and Union soldiers all over the place because of the Civil War. So we went to Gettysburg. At the time, I didn't see anybody, but a bunch of my ancestors actually fought there in Gettysburg and died.
Oh,
And I've been
wow.
doing ancestry.
Oh, wow. So, all right. So, any more ghost stories, or are we going to move on? I want to hear everything. So, all your best stuff, give it to me.
There was this one. I was a security guard up in Oregon for the harbor port, and every now and then I would see this brown-haired woman, 5'6". All I'd see was from waist up, but you could tell by the height off the ground that she was about 5'6". Never say anything. She would just look at me, and I would get this picture of a forest, and that's it. She would disappear. And this happened for weeks and weeks.
So when you say you saw her from the waist up, does that mean something obscured her from the waist down, or that's just how she appeared?
Yeah, it's just how she appeared.
Wow. Okay.
But floating across the ground as if she was walking. So I'm assuming she was like 5'6".
Oh, wow. Wow. So, and I've heard tales of, and it's kind of crazy, but I've heard tales, and I don't mean like crazy. I mean like blow your mind crazy, about to where sometimes people see just the lower half, and you saw the upper half.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would do in that situation. Just gonna be honest with you.
It was quite unnerving.
I would imagine. I'd imagine.
So.
All right. So now from ghosts, I'm kind of thinking, because we've talked before, and you know a few things about certain things. We won't bring them up just yet. So I'm thinking we're going to save that subject for the end. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So next, I'd like to go into. You say, well, Dogman seriously intrigues me, but do you have anything before Dogman? Because that's another one that just.
I know when I was walking around the woods while I was growing up in North Texas, I was always taught the way of Indians, you respect your land.
Yep.
And you only take what you could use. And also growing up, I was always told if you go in the forest, take a rifle because the wildlife will want to eat you. And I didn't understand what they meant, but well, that'll tie into later on. I always saw winged little winged things flying around the woods, running across the ground, or they'd peek their heads around trees and watch me and then just vanish.
Winged? Like, and how big were they?
Uh,
Like,
about
maybe
the size
like fairies? Like
about the
fairies.
size. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome because that's what we like to talk about on this show is everything in between that nobody generally wants to bring up because they think you're, you know, yeah. and uh, and I believe in it. I mean, a lot of people have seen them. There's pictures out there, and everybody always says, "Oh, that's CGI." You know what? I don't know that I completely believe that it's CGI. You know,
some of it probably is, but most of it's not. I look at it this way: they say that the Arctic forest up in northern Canada is so vast that an animal can spend its entire life up there and not see one human being whatsoever until the day it dies.
oh wow, I totally
What,
believe that.
what else is hiding out there?
I know. Yeah, we've just tended to the human race has got our own little territory, and I mean, we took up most of the world, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of the world out there that I think other things, creatures, beings have retreated to because they know they can't be around us. And occasionally it happens, well, and I think it happens more than occasionally, but occasionally you hear about it. But
yeah,
a lot of the time people see these things and they just go with the typical, hey, you know, it was just a moth, or that was just a dog, or that was a bear, and we tried to live in our own little mind that says nothing's scary out there. And I'm not saying they're all scary, but they're unknown to us, and anything unknown tends to be labeled as scary.
yeah.
So, you know, I get it. I get it. Um, so have you ever personally witnessed anything like that?
Nothing scary, no.
Well, it doesn't have to be scary. Just because it doesn't scare
Uh,
you, it might scare other people, you know?
no, I can only think of the dog man that was really, really unnerving.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Like,
so
like your sisters on that episode, I had heard howls all through the forest where I grew up, but we never had any wolves. And it sounded like a wolf howl. The biggest thing we have close to wolves were coyote, and they don't sound the same.
no, they don't. Yeah.
I would always hear it, and I would hear whoops, uh, growls. Once again, no wolves. Coyote can't growl that deep. And we were always told growing up, if you hear the sound of someone like screaming, get out of the woods. If you hear something that sounds like someone's crying, pray to God you have a rifle because you are about to need it.
I have prayed to God before when I heard sounds like that.
Yep.
So I completely understand. So have you had a Dogman experience?
Yeah. Oh no, I was 18. It was the beginning of rifle season for deer hunting. I'm in Texas,
And you
and I
said
was
North Texas, right?
North Texas, yeah,
Okay.
north of Dallas, up
Yep.
on the river. And I would hear the growls and everything, but I never paid much attention to it because I was looking for deer. Very rarely saw any, but then this one night I was coming back, walking down through the path out of our woods, and I hear this kind of growl huff sound coming off to my left. So I turn and look, and I see this thing. I'm sitting there looking at this thing. It's like 6 feet away from me, and its upper body was taller than the five strand barbed wire fence, which we have is at 5 feet,
Oh wow.
and it was staring at me. And I went and pulled my rifle down, and it stood up. And
So it was
the
on all
rifle,
fours when you first saw it, and it was taller than a 5-strand fence. And
yeah,
then it
and
stood
when it
up.
came below its waist,
Holy cow. Oh wow.
and it could have reached out and grabbed me. It was that close, and I didn't move. And every time I start to point my rifle at it, it would growl and come a little bit closer. And that's when I held my rifle up with strap with one hand and put it on my back on my shoulder. And it sat there and stood there and looked at me. And he reached up and grabbed this tree limb and just dropped his arm like this and brought the tree limb down with it, as if it didn't even try, and just ripped it off the fence, that tree above its head. The next morning, I went out there and measured it. That tree limb was 16 feet off the ground.
Holy jeez.
So this thing was a good 11, maybe 12 feet tall, standing up.
So what happened after it reached up and grabbed the limb? Did it just break it off and take off, or did you just say, I'm out of here?
Oh, I didn't. It just broke it and sat there and looked at me, holding this thing in his hand, like, this is what I can do to you
Yeah.
with his arm. And what I saw was, if you take the Hollywood werewolf and put it on steroids and make it another 4 or 5 feet taller. I like to say it's taking the movie version of Jack Reacher, the one that Tom Cruise played, compared to the TV series that Alan Greatman played. This was the Hollywood werewolf. This is what I saw.
Wow.
How much difference?
Wow. So, and I gotta ask, how did that all play out? I mean, who broke first?
We actually sat there and stared at each other for a good 20 minutes, and it kind of huffed and bared its fangs at me and turned and walked away. And I turned and walked away, so we kind of both left.
Yeah, yeah.
And never seen it since. But what was really weird was when I went back the next day, there were no footprints whatsoever on the ground.
So and was the substrate like acceptable to footprints? I mean, what kind of
Yeah, you could
substrate?
see what my footprints were,
Oh
but there was
wow!
nothing.
And if this thing was that big, it
It
should have
was
left footprints. So I gotta ask you, do you think these like Dogman, werewolf, I don't really like the term Dogman,
yeah,
because I like dogs.
yeah, me too.
So, more of a werewolf. I like the term werewolf better, but do you think that maybe they're not quite physical? Do you think they're physical? I mean, obviously you saw one in right in front of your face. Did it seem like it was flesh and blood, or
Oh, it was good. What I think is the way this thing had left no footprints is it could have been an extra dimension. I don't know, but it was solid because it had to be to pull that tree limb out of the tree.
well, yeah, yeah, obviously.
And when I was walking out of the woods, I didn't hear a single footstep from this thing.
Wow, wow. Well, yeah, you're not hearing footsteps. Something else is going on.
Yeah.
So,
And that time of year, there's oak tree, dead oak tree leaves all over the place. You cannot get out of those woods without making a sound.
yeah, no, I get it. I mean, and it's so strange to me, and not strange. It's just perplexing because I believe everybody is seeing and hearing and feeling everything that's going on. Some stories have no sound, no smell, but obviously it's right there. It's doing something physical right in front of you, but there's no evidence afterwards. And then some are even more opposite. You don't really see it, but then there's footprints, but the footprints go to a place and then disappear.
Mhm.
So it's like a super, super perplexing situation. And I don't know. I want to. I want more answers. That's what I want. I want more answers. Give them to me.
When you were talking about that, the footprints, we had a creek that would run through our land, and me and my stepdad were down there one day looking for places to hunt deer, and I saw footprints. I thought they were a bear because they were about the size of my head on the ground.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't have bear in North Texas.
Yeah. So
And
yeah.
like,
So
down
so
in Fort Worth,
so. Oh my gosh. So do you think you've ever ran across a Bigfoot or maybe any? I'm sorry. I love all
we,
cryptids, but I like Bigfoot best.
we are actually not that far from Polk, Arkansas, where the Boggy Creek Monster is.
Oh
And
wow.
all it's got to do is follow the Red River right down to where I live.
No doubt, no doubt. Kind of a cool thing. Uh, I just interviewed Jason Kenzie, and that's where he is today. He was putting out pictures from Fout, Arkansas, which I'm not really that far from there. So how?
Now, where I grew up, we were maybe 3 hours from it.
Oh wow, that's not that far. I mean, because I have a feeling, I don't know. I'm an amateur, and I listen to a lot, but I think they have a great range. I don't know, my own personal opinion. I'm getting off track here, but I think the
I, I,
people. Go ahead.
I think they go wherever the woods are.
In the
So they
water.
really don't have their own range. These things just go where they want.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that. All right, so I think we're getting ready to, unless you got any more cryptid. All right, so before we do this, are there any cryptids out there that you think, even though you haven't had a chance to see them or experience anything, are there any cryptids out there that you believe have the most plausibility as being real?
I would have to say the Bigfoot, the Dogman.
So,
I was researching stuff online for this. 66 million years ago, this specific type of fish went extinct, but a fishing trawler in 1938 off of South Africa pulled one up, living, breathing, out of the water.
trailer something coelacanth, the coelacanth, I
Yeah.
think.
So if that's out there and supposed to be extinct, what else have we not found yet?
100%, 100%. Because some of the things I really get intrigued with a lot is when they talk about the small, and I don't even know what the name of the creature is. My producer Dirty will help me later, and he'll pop it up on the screen. But there's a small. They think it's like a brontosaurus, and it's down in the Congo, and
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility. You never know, but it intrigues the hell out of me because the natives down there talk about it just like the Native Americans in the United States talk about Bigfoot, just like, oh, it's like a crow, it's like a coyote, we see it every day. And that's how they talk about it. And, since the evil white man moved into this country, we've made everything, run away. And we want nothing to do with it. And there's a lot of stories about the first settlers encountering that, but now it's all nothing.
Encountering that, encountering the skinwalkers. I just found out that I'm part Choctaw, Cherokee, Pawnee, Shoshone, all through ancestry. And all these Indians had their own skinwalker, the Wendigo that you're not supposed to say its name whatsoever,
I
but
know.
I mean none.
Yeah.
And I do believe these things exist just because of my ancestry.
Well, I mean, I believe they exist because I'm 100% sure I heard one. I didn't see it because I prayed to God I wouldn't see it. And maybe the Indian spirits were listening to me, maybe God was listening to me, but that night I didn't see it because I didn't want to because I was scared for my life. But have you ever had an experience out in the woods to where you're like, oh my gosh, what the hell am I doing out here?
I have. I was out deer hunting up in a tree and used to hear the squirrels running across the ground. And all of a sudden it goes dead quiet. And then I hear this, like someone's knocking on wood. So I'm looking around to see if I could find this, where the sound was coming from. And I don't see anything, but I'm looking off through the scope of my rifle at this one particular tree. And as I hear this, it moves. As if something's knocking on it, but there was nothing there. I got out of the woods as quick as I could.
Probably a good choice. Probably a good choice. So,
And
unless you got any more cryptid stuff, we might switch gears to aliens and UFOs.
that's fine. That works for me.
All right. So you told me some interesting stuff, but
Yeah.
I wanna hear what you got to say first. Then maybe I'll throw in some questions.
Well, I think they do exist simply because of the fact of out of all the galaxies and things that we see up in the night sky, how is it that we're the only planet with life?
Oh, we're not.
There, as of the first few days of September last month, 5,756 Earth-like planets have been found so far. How many of those have life on it?
And as a point, just not to cut you off, but who's to say that they have to be like Earth to have life?
Yeah. Well, they say they found bacteria on Mars. Mars has no atmosphere,
Yeah,
so how can bacteria there?
exactly. So, have you had any UFO encounters or
I've seen them in the distance, but nothing close up. No,
no?
concrete. No,
Okay.
I've seen them years and years. One night, I watched a three lights in the night sky. They didn't move so much as moving towards us or moving away. They were stationary, and every now and it was like a triangle, like this, two at the bottom, one at the top, and they would just go around in circles like this, and never heard anything. And then next second, they're just gone, as if someone had turned the light off.
Huh. Just boop.
Yep,
See ya.
gone.
Wow.
That's really the closest I'd ever been.
So do you have any beliefs on possible other species being here on Earth?
Uh, it is a possibility because if you look at the human timeline in the late early 1900s, we were just barely driving cars. 40 years later, we're dropping atomic bombs. And every 25 or so years, you'll see a technology advance.
And it was right about the time that supposed alien contact
Yeah.
happened.
I mean, how can we go from a vehicle that looks like a stagecoach with a steering wheel to 69 years later sending someone to the moon?
Yeah. Well, and besides that, I mean, how the heck did the Egyptians build those pyramids? I mean, come on. I mean, come
There's a,
on.
there's a place in South America, they say that the corners of these rocks are so well made that if you do like this with your thumb, you'll cut your thumb open. And these rocks are thousands of years old.
And where's that at?
South
In
America.
South America?
Yeah.
So, and have you heard about the alien, or not the alien, the pyramids that they say they've been discovering in the Antarctica?
I've heard of one, and it's like 3,000 feet below the ice, which would put it over 1,000,000 years ago.
Kind of says something. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But
We won't know until we find out.
exactly. So, do you have any knowledge on maybe how many alien races are out there?
I would honestly say that there's really no way to actually count the possible races that are out there unless we can go to them. And that's not possible. They come to us. Now they do supposedly say that there's reptiles that live here. There's this deep underground army base supposedly in Arizona where
I've
humans
heard
and aliens
about more than one deep underground army base. Just saying.
dumps, as they call them.
So yeah,
And me personally, I don't know. I I don't think I want to know, truthfully.
ignorance is bliss, isn't it? My problem is I'm ignorant and I'm not blissful. I want to know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask all the questions anybody I can. One day, maybe I'll get the right answer. One day, maybe a laser beam will blow me in the head and I'll be done. And they'll be like, you asked too many questions.
I have no doubt that there's life out there. That's 100% given.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's no way that we're the only life here.
No, there can't be. There can't be any way that we're the only life form out there. I'm sorry to, and trust me, I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. But if God was just to make us, why not make, more?
Yeah.
So I believe I did, and that's why it kind of blows my mind with the whole topic of Dogman, Bigfoot, Wendigo, fairies. I mean, all that. It's like, if he can create us, why can't he have created that? And they have different abilities than what we have. Maybe
Yeah.
they're just an offshoot of his creativity. And maybe he gave them some ability to know, don't trust these people.
Yeah.
Stay away because they will be your demise.
That does make sense because every Bigfoot series that I've looked up says that they always try to stay away from us
Yep.
as much as they can.
Yep.
And then there's the occasional interaction, which they automatically become hostile because they want you out of their area. They don't want to be seen.
So
And that's what
no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut y'all.
where the wood knocking and all that comes in.
So something I heard that was really interesting on the camp out I was on this past weekend. A gentleman, I'm not going to drop his name because he might not want me saying what he said, but he said he believes, and it sounded like a very, very solid theory that, and we were talking about dogmen and Bigfoot and interaction with people. There's been locations and encounters and reports that people have gotten torn up, disappeared, killed. They come to investigate, and it's a bad scene, but they try to blame it on something else. And he said that when things like that happen, and his theory was that Bigfoot and Dogman kind of work together, which I've heard encounters too, not personally, but on other podcasts about people saying where Bigfoot and Dogman have communicated. And he said whenever a bad seed like that pops out, they handle their own. They get rid of it because that's going to shed light on them if it keeps happening.
Yeah.
So And that,
There was, I think it was in Pennsylvania that there was some people being torn up, and I just watched it on the TV show, and all the people that live there said all of a sudden game wardens, military all came up and shut this area down and went through it one street at a time, looking for whatever it was that was killing people, and they never heard anything else out about it.
kind of a similar story happened out where, well, of course, this isn't my full time job, and it's not my producer Dirty's full time job, and we work at some cabins, and at one set of our cabins, and it was kind of weird because the day I heard it was somebody else's podcast. I'll go ahead and drop the name Monsters Among Us. It's a great podcast. Great podcast. Guy does a great job. He basically just takes phone calls and people give him like a little 5-minute snippet. And I just happened to be working at the cabin that was in the area that the guy talked about that day, which kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because he said there was a conservation area, and it's here in Missouri, close to those cabins, and he said that he used to go out there all the time, and then all of a sudden they shut it down because someone was killed out there, and they found them like this, and this is gross, parental discretion, disemboweled and torn into pieces, and but they weren't like scavenged on, they weren't eaten on, they were just tore up and dismembered. And so the guy said that he had talked to I think it was his brother-in-law, and he worked for DNR out here, and he gave him kind of the real scoop on it. He said because the site that it happened at, they just shut it down. Shut it down. You can't come out here anymore. You can't camp. You can't hang out here. And when he asked him what's all that about, and he told him, he's like, dude, he's like, people really got screwed up out there real bad. And so the guy that does Monsters Among Us does a really good job. So he went back and he found news footage of when it happened. And they tried to blame it on a pack of dogs. And yeah. And so all the sheriffs and police went out to the community, seeing if anybody had any evidence or sign or sightings of a pack of wild dogs that was running around, and they had nothing. Yet these people had been ripped apart. So,
well, if you look at it, all the Bigfoot descriptions, they don't say he has claws. Dogman and Werewolf do.
yeah. Yeah.
And if you get tore up by one, it's going to look like a bear or a dog got a hold of you.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the brother-in-law told the guy. He's like, we think it was a dog man that did it, and just because the severe like gruesomeness of it, and how violent it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
that person was an example of.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, you think, oh well, maybe it was a person. If they're gonna, and once again, rated R here. if if a human is gonna do something like that, they're not gonna be able to just rip your freaking arm off.
No,
It's different.
they're not.
It's different. So your arm's laying over here, your leg's laying over here, your guts are laying in your lap, and there's no knife cuts, chances are one person. Just saying.
No. Yeah.
Unless they hooked you up to 2 trucks and had some fun with you. But then there's going to be evidence of that. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Hey, we're getting up on the Halloween season, so we got to get creepier by the day, right?
Exactly. I look forward to it. My daughter, she loves Halloween.
So, all right, Neil. So, got any more good stories for us?
There's this one I've been following. It's the missing 411.
Oh,
David,
yeah.
it's David P. I cannot pronounce his last name. But there was this lady was out hunting in the woods, and she was right outside a football field on a like 10, 12 acres. And she said every now and then she would see this shimmer in a tree. I've seen that a few times myself.
Like an orb or a shimmer? Just a shimmer?
You seen the movie Predator?
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
And that's another one of those. You see it, you beat feet, get out.
Yeah, yeah. I think.
I've only seen it once, thank God.
Well, at least you're still here to talk about it.
And certain groups, I'm gonna about you what you and I talked about. They have the technology because I tried it out.
For the cloaking?
Yeah. And after I had it on, I didn't think anything happened, but everybody started looking around and said all they saw was a shimmer. And I touched this guy on the back of his ear like this, and he looked around, and I could see that he couldn't see me.
Huh. Really?
Yeah.
So is that the, like, they call it the Harry Potter cloak?
I call it the Predator Cloak.
Predator cloak? I mean, basically the same thing. So you got your hands on one, you got to try it out?
Yeah.
That is so cool. Man, oh man.
And I was thinking about that. I was like, well, if we got that, we got the stealth technology for the airplanes, which makes them virtually invisible to radar. The military is also coming out with a new type of, supposed to be coming out next year, a new type of suit for assault infantry that actually you wear a helmet, and this part of the helmet is your rifle scope.
Oh, wow. It doesn't surprise me, though.
It's one suit. And I read up on it. It's a new rifle. It's attached to your helmet. And one ear is a radio that you can communicate with everybody around you. It will show you what's behind you while showing you what's in front of you. And if you get shot, the suit will radio medics themselves, telling them where you guys shot and if it's life-threatening or not, and then it will seal closed over that wound.
Oh, wow. Doesn't surprise me, though.
Until the medics can get there.
I'm not going to be able to afford that suit this year. Just saying.
They said, yeah, sometime next summer it should. And this was back in 2000 when I was still in the military. That this suit was 25 years. It was still in the testing phase, but it's not coming out until next year.
All right. Well, I'm telling you, if me and my producer Dirty can afford it by next year, I might come visit you and I'll let you try it.
Sounds good.
Neil, it's been fun talking to you tonight, man. So,
You too. I enjoyed it.
yeah. It was a good time. It was a good time. So, hey, Neil, I don't know, do you have anything to promote or you just want to say,
No,
hey, America?
like you say, keep it creepy.
Yeah, hell yeah, there you go. Everybody, just like Neil said, out there in the cryptid world, keep it creepy.
Yeah, out in the woods where the shadows creep. I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. Like I'm on a quest, searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.